Welcome, everyone. My mother went through her life forming friendships, confidences, and bonds of love and laughter. So it's not surprising to me that there are so many people here today, from all walks of life, and from all parts of New Jersey. Some knew her briefly, others for years or decades, and one of you since the moment she was born. Some of you knew her as an aunt or a sister or a grandmother. Some of you knew her as a professor. Some of you knew her as a therapist. Some of you knew her as a water gymnastics gossip lady / therapist. All of you knew her in these myriad ways, at different times, for different times. And though she was always changing, her looks, her recipes, her professions, and her obsessions, I feel certain that each and every one of you came to know something singular, some essence that made my mother who she was, and that one way or another touched each of you and brought you here today. So we want to welcome you and say thank you. And thank you for coming and remembering with us today.
Hi. We also wanted to thank you for giving us this opportunity to grieve with all of you, to remember our mother, our wife, with all of you. This is really weird to see all of you together in this room, and it is also very deeply, profoundly moving to be here with you. Dan and I were talking about how really the great irony is how much she would have just loved to be here right now. She loved people so much. She loved schmoozing and talking and gatherings and parties. And yeah, she just would have gone wild to be able to be with all of you people from all different parts of her life, all at once in a room. And so even just being here, even just this, feels like kind of honoring her and conjuring her spirit here today. That would have been enough, just that, just to be here together. Nevertheless, we do have a few things planned for today. We have sort of a collection of different things we're going to do. We have what we're calling the formal program, where my mom's immediate family, Ben and I, and my dad, and her sister Lee, have some reflections and thoughts, and also some music that's going to be played. My brother's going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute. And then we have the next portion of what we're going to be doing in here, which we're calling the Magic Circle. It was really important to all of us that we make sure there was a space for everybody who wanted to share, to do that, to hear from all of you and give you an opportunity to also reflect on, talk about, think about, share feelings, memories, stories about my mom. So we'll be passing around a microphone after the formal program component is over. I'm going to make sure I tell you all the other things I wanted to tell you. After that, and I know this was not on the invitation, we will be moving into the other room, the reception room. There will be some food and some coffee and tea and things like that, and we'll have time to mingle and talk more with each other casually. I think that was it. I wanted to also ask you all, we are recording this, so if you haven't already, if you can remember to silence or turn off your phones so that we can preserve that recording. Thanks again for being here.
Yeah, I want to also thank everybody who, many of you helped out in critical ways and kind of threw this all together without professional help, and that's very much in keeping with, I think, how my mom would have done it. So thank you for that. So there's a lot of music in today's presentation, or in today's program. So let me tell you just a little bit about some of the music. My mom wrote us numerous letters about what to do in the case of her death. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But in all of this information she gave us, there was very little about what she wanted for a funeral. She said, "You'll know what to do." But she did say that she wanted some music, and she mentioned Eric Satie and Chopin. And so I know how to play like 3 songs on the piano, and they're all by Satie. And as luck would have it, about a little bit over a year ago, I met a beautiful woman who happens to be working on the Chopin Preludes by happy coincidence. So we're going to hear a little Satie, a little Chopin. My father also is going to start us off with a piece by Bach, a piece from a Bach sonata that he played at his mother's funeral. That was a piece that his mother liked very much during her life. And a little later, he's also going to play the Offen Pippenstock. I don't know if I know how to pronounce that. It's a Yiddish song that my mother's mother used to sing to her and to Lee and Judy, which my father also played at Judy's funeral. And then finally, during the slideshow, there's a special song that my mother loved that for us kind of captures her spirit. It's from her so-called ABBA tape. And if it doesn't make you cry, then you really are made of stone. So, take it away, Bob.
I'm supposed to start playing, but I can't for a minute or so. I knew that it would be very powerful for me to see you as I'm doing now. And that you all here because of Roz, because of some connection with her, some profound, maybe some not so profound, but all of you must have loved her. You wouldn't be here. And that's a bit of an overwhelming thought. Since her death about a month ago, I've done nothing other than mourn, and I've thought about nothing else except this. That this would be very, very beautiful and very difficult. I'm not playing my flute in order to, it's not a concert. I'm not at all up to the level of being able to play because I haven't played my flute for the last 3.5 years, except on rare occasions. So it probably won't be very good. I wanted to play something the power is with us. I wanted to play one little piece that I played for my mother when she died. And it was something that I play fairly often. It's from a flute sonata by Bach, and she heard me play because I came from a musician's family, and so there was always music, and everybody was always practicing. In my house, practicing meant at least 2.5 hours, and 4 hours if you could do it. So she heard me playing this, and she liked it, and so I played this Siciliano by Bach.
Now it's my turn. The day my mother died, I wrote a quick note that said that I've had a lot of lucky breaks in this life, but having her for a mother tops the list. And since then, I keep coming back to this line. It keeps deepening for me. There's the obvious ways that I was lucky. My mother was deeply and truly loving, sweet, empathic, and kind. And in many ways, I think she had the same instincts for motherhood that she had for therapy. But over time, I've come to appreciate the less obvious ways, the less likely, rarer ways in which we were lucky, Shauna, Aaron, Josh, and I were lucky to be her children and in her family. So I'll tell you a couple of stories along those lines. After college, I went to Japan for a year and a half and then traveled through Thailand and India on my way to Portugal and eventually Brazil. I spent most of my 20s on the other side of the world from her, in a lost time before email and Skype. We exchanged letters on thin blue airmail paper. She would update me about the mundanities of life and inquire politely about mine, hoping to hear romantic details, but happy to hear about pagodas and Buddhist temples, Thai coral reefs, and especially Atlantic rainforests. In one letter after I left Japan to start my trip through Asia, she wrote that she was proud of me. I thought, proud of what? I just quit my job to come sit on the beach in Koh Samui for a month. But I thanked her for letting me do all this travel, not just literally permitting me, but doing so freely, letting me be so far away without sending me guilt or anxiety or worry. She wrote back saying that of course she felt anxiety and fear, and plus she just missed me, but she wanted me to be free from all of that, free to explore the world and myself without guilt and shame, free in a way that she never was with her parents. She said, I'm just glad this old oak tree gets to hear all these amazing stories from an acorn she dropped 25 years ago. I mean, she didn't even make me feel guilty about not making me feel guilty. I always wondered how she could do that. It's one thing to want to be different from our parents. It's another thing to have the internal resources to actually be different, to be the person our parents never really taught us to be. But she was that person. So for me, it comes down to this. It wasn't just a lot of love she gave, it was the way she gave it. The true pleasure she took in watching us grow, struggle, change, wander, get lost, and find ourselves again. When good things happened in my life, even if they took me further away from her, there was nobody I more looked forward to telling her than her. Because it would make her happy. And when things went badly, even when I messed up, I knew she would listen without judgment or anxiety, but with understanding and insight and humor. And so even when things fell apart completely, she was the one I turned to first. So in that sense, her plan worked. My mother never lost this ability to take real pleasure in our successes, even after the devastating stroke that made those last years so hard on her. In our very last conversation, the roles were a little reversed. She called me to talk about how hard things were, how she was struggling to understand what her life was now, who she was post-stroke. She was deeply pained at her confusions and deficits, angry at the damage unjustly done to that brilliant brain of hers. I told her there was nothing to be ashamed of, and at the core of her empathy and insight into human beings were still 100%. As if to prove the point, she asked me how Priya and I were doing, and listened as I told her we were in Brazil and had just gotten back from a special place. Oh, you took her to Trindade, didn't you? That's the beach I'd taken my parents years before, and where the photo from the memorial announcement was taken. It was a place that meant a lot to my mom. And she said, it's such a meaningful place for you. You must really love her. Oh, Ben, this just makes my whole day. Then, as usual, she gave me a great piece of relationship advice. When I said that my one worry with Priya was that I travel so much, she said, well, why don't you make her a deal? You bring her to Rio, treat her really nice, make her feel good, and in exchange, she won't leave you. I wanted to close with a couple of things my mom wrote. The first I've cobbled together from a series of 3 letters spanning 1997 to 2015, which we found in an envelope marked, "To be opened by my children in case of my untimely death." We are not, as I write this, dead. It's a lovely sunny day, and I'm feeling very much alive. But you know me, I'm in the habit of anticipating and planning for the worst. So I just want to tell you how very much I love you both, how much meaning it has given my life to be your mother, how proud I am of the people you've turned out to be. Know that Papa and I have been very happy together, and we have no regrets about our choices. 12 years later, she wrote, each of you, in your own unique ways,
has helped me to grow as a person, to heal some of my own childhood emotional wounds. As adults, you have encouraged and supported me through my own tough times. Indirectly and unwittingly, you have helped me and Papa become less anxious, more self-accepting, and loving towards each other. I am deliriously happy that we have such an open, communicative relationship with you. I'm really happy about the kinds of person you've both become and how you do your lives. I also feel deeply loved and respected by both of you. What more could a mother want? My last wish for you is that you continue to grow in your self-knowledge and self-love, and that you seek comfort, help, and guidance from your friends and ours, your aunts and uncles and cousins and others, and everyone else you know and trust. Keep us always in your memories and in your hearts. Got it. The last thing I wanted to read is from a poem that she sent me on my birthday, my 31st birthday. As usual, I was living far away. I think I was in Brazil. I lived in Botafogo in Rio de Janeiro. And I only have part of the poem here, so it sort of jumps in the middle, but it's about how she likes to bake a cake on my birthday and couldn't because I was so far away. And what should she do? Should she bake the cake and send it in the mail? She says, when I called my good friend Jake, who, though usually quite opaque, on the subject of the cake, was clear, and thus he spake. It is a long, long way to Botafogo, don't you know? And the mail is kind of slow. No, your cake would surely break, or become a limpid lake, with its icing all aflake. See, there's so much here at stake, that it's surely a mistake, to bake the cake you ache to bake. Yes, surely a mistake. I'd counsel put a break on your ache to bake this cake. Surely Jake is wise, though his wisdom I despise. I would quiver, I would quake, I would shiver, I would shake, if the cake that I would bake should become a limpid lake, with its icing all flake. Yes, there's so much here at stake that it surely is a mistake to bake the cake I ache to make. And so, dear son, at 31, you'll have to take what isn't cake. With that tradition we must break, but still have fun. It's only cake. Our love for you will never break, no matter how we shake or quake. And though the mail is very slow, you're always in our hearts, you know. Thanks.